Reed, what is happening in fear and confusion? Olivia, how long have we been driving? But neither is it getting night nor is day changing. Something is very wrong. Here, the story begins with little Reed and his dad. His dad was a hunter, and this time he had taken Reed along for hunting. They hunted a deer, and then Reed was given a knife to skin it. But Reed was very scared, so it didn't happen. Seeing this, his dad got angry and started shouting at him. This is where the scene cut, and now we see Big Reed. It was his wedding day. The whole house was filled with happiness. After the wedding, Reed and his wife were supposed to go on a long drive, for which his dad had already prepared. He had packed some items in the car that were only for emergencies. Seeing this made Reed angry. Perhaps he wasn't very close to his dad because of his dad's strict demeanor. Reed and his wife started their journey. On the way, it was revealed that his wife was pregnant. They were talking about their upcoming child when suddenly a car appeared in front of them. Reed didn't pay attention, and their car narrowly avoided a collision. His wife scolded him for being careless. After traveling a bit further, they reached a place where there were two roads. They didn't know which way to go. There was a signboard that said there was a fuel station and store nearby. Reed's wife said they should take this road because fuel stations and stores are usually close to highways. They proceeded down that road, but strangely there was no traffic. When they reached the store, they saw it was completely empty. Inside sat an old man, but when they tried to talk to him, he didn't respond. It was as if he was sleeping or unconscious. Suddenly, an old woman approached them. Both were a little startled to see her, but then they composed themselves. Reed's wife asked the old woman for permission to use the restroom. The old woman sternly said, "Don't make a mess." Then with the help of the old woman, they found out how to get to the highway and they managed to leave the area. During the journey, they started talking again. Suddenly, Reed felt as if someone had poured a bucket of blood on his car, but in the next moment, everything returned to normal. He thought it might just be his imagination. After a while, Olivia, Reed's wife, turned on the radio. Normal songs were playing, but Reed heard another voice as if someone was saying, "Your wife doesn't love you." Further down the road, they saw an old man. Reed thought he might be asking for a lift. Olivia had already said, "We won't give him a lift. Who knows who he is?" Reed was tired, so Olivia started driving. Suddenly, Reed felt very strange, as if they were moving backward instead of forward. He ignored these feelings and tried to sleep. As soon as Reed fell asleep, he felt that Olivia had turned into a scary demon. Her face and eyes had become terrifying, as if she was about to eat Reed. Suddenly, Reed's eyes opened. He looked around in panic. Strange things had started happening as soon as they got on this road, and he couldn't understand why all this was happening. Olivia was driving, but she hadn't checked the meter yet. When Reed glanced at the meter, he saw that the tank was almost empty. This could only happen if they had been driving for several hours continuously. Olivia said in surprise, "I thought we were just driving for a few minutes." Reed's mind was spinning. Something was wrong. Time was passing, and he realized they had been repeating the same thing for a long time without even realizing it. Now Olivia had to believe it too. Olivia started feeling dizzy and strange. Reed tried to help her by reaching for something in the back of the car. Just then, Olivia noticed blood on the car. In the next moment, she saw a blood-soaked girl on the road. In fear, she quickly accelerated the car. Reed exclaimed, "What are you doing?" Then Olivia, terrified, revealed everything. While talking, they found themselves back at the bumper from where they had come. Now both were confused. Reed noticed they had been traveling for hours, yet it hadn't turned from evening to night. As soon as they got out of the car, suddenly thick darkness engulfed them. Night fell in an instant. Then Olivia's gaze fell on a nearby tree where a man's corpse was hanging. His body was torn apart as if someone had eaten him. Before they could comprehend anything, suddenly a stranger wearing a mask attacked them. Both panicked and ran to save their lives, trying to escape in the car. In fear, Reed began to back the car instead of driving forward. While going backward, they also forgot why they were doing so. Suddenly, the masked man appeared again in front of their car. Now the car was out of fuel. They couldn't escape anywhere. Just then, a car came from the opposite direction. The honking startled the masked man, and taking advantage of this opportunity, Reed and Olivia ran into the forest. But as soon as they entered the forest, strange things began to happen again. They forgot why they were running in the forest. Then suddenly, time seemed to stop. When they regained consciousness, they found themselves tied up in a dark room. Now both were injured and realized they had been kidnapped, and the one who had kidnapped them was none other than the masked man. Then Olivia looked at Reed and tremblingly said, "I have to tell you a truth. I didn't love you." It felt as if someone had stabbed Reed's heart. Olivia cried, "I married you out of necessity. I was with someone else too. And to be honest, I don't know if this child is yours or not." Reed's blood boiled. Just then, the radio in the room turned on by itself, and a voice came from the song, "I told you, she doesn't love you." Reed jerked his head and saw the masked man sitting nearby, and he was probably eating the flesh of that dead man. Now his eyes were on Reed and Olivia, but before he could attack, suddenly someone came from behind and struck him hard on the head. The masked man fell unconscious. Reed and Olivia saw that it was the same old man they had seen at the store earlier, the one who had been trying to stop them from coming to this place. Reed hurriedly asked, "What is all this? Where are we? The old man took a deep breath and said, This place is cursed. Everything is trapped in a time loop. Time does not move forward, nor can anyone escape from here. And the longer you stay here, the more you will forget your past, just like I have forgotten. This story is about a man who has been stuck in the same place for years and doesn't even remember how long he's been here. He had grown old and had begun to feel that perhaps he would die in this time loop, but suddenly his memory started to fade. He forgot Olivia and Reed and began to attack them. Scared, they both managed to escape. As they ran, morning arrived, but Reed was angry with Olivia. He didn't want to talk to her, but the most important thing for them now was to get out of this place somehow. On the way, they saw a person. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be Olivia. When she had gone into the forest to use the restroom, they realized they were trapped in a time loop. Everything was happening the same way again. Reed quickly picked up a stone to scare the old Olivia away so she would leave. Now he understood that the one who scared her was none other than himself. Then he took petrol out of his car and poured it into his own car to save himself in the next loop. Now they also understood that if they drove the car backward, time would go back too, and perhaps they could escape this loop. But as they began to go backward, their memories started fading again, and they began to drive the car forward again. Just then, they saw that a masked man had attacked the new Reed and Olivia coming into the new loop. Reed and Olivia honked their car to distract the masked man. Olivia looked back in the car and saw a knife. She thought that perhaps Reed had brought the knife to kill her, because now she had discovered the truth about Olivia. In fear, she picked up the same knife and pushed Reed out of the car. Reed kept trying to explain to her, Stop, it's not what you think. There's danger outside. But Olivia didn't listen to him. As soon as Reed got out of the car, someone attacked him. But Olivia was shocked to see that the masked man attacking them was none other than a future version of Olivia herself, the one who had kidnapped them and was eating human flesh. Now, Olivia's mind was broken. She quickly got into the car. Reed somehow managed to get back into the car, and both began to drive backward rapidly. As they began to go backward, time started changing rapidly. Day and night were changing as if someone was turning a light on and off. Then they reached the same road from where they had started this journey. Everything was fine, but it was too late. Reed checked his phone, and there were many messages from family and friends. He realized that he had spent a very long time in this place, but now Olivia was dead, and so was their child. Nothing was left in this life. He got out of the car and walked down the same path from which he had barely escaped, and then he realized that this was the old man who had initially tried to stop him from coming here. Suddenly, he saw a little girl in the forest who resembled Olivia. He understood that this was his daughter, who had probably been born by some version of Olivia and was now trapped in this forest too. The girl had a picture of Reed and Olivia. Reed hugged the picture, cried, and the story ended here.